Things are ever changing. Well, in business, you have to adapt or you get left behind. There's no difference when you're reselling as with any other business. And I want to take a deep dive into this, see what we can find. So my name is Ann and I've been reselling with my husband Bill since 2011. So things have changed a lot since then. And I thought it'd be interesting to go back and look how things were before and how things are now and see what we can learn from it. I'll tell you, there's a lot of businesses out there that haven't made it through the years. The one that really comes to mind is Blockbuster to me. Blockbuster didn't get into streaming services right away and it just didn't change with the time. Well, now you don't have Blockbuster. Actually, I think we even sold one of the Blockbuster membership cards one time. It wasn't for much by any means, but just a silly thing that's part of history, honestly. It seems not that long ago to me, but it is history. So how were things back then compared to now? Because I think we can learn a lot. First off, the sourcing. I mean, we used to go to thrift stores all the time. You would find stuff at thrift stores all the time. And since then, I'll tell you, I'll still go into thrift stores and I have found items at thrift stores to resell. But it's not as often as it used to be. I used to be able to go into a thrift store and find good deals to be able to flip online. It's become a lot harder. I used to know what sales day they were. I would make sure I went early in the morning. I knew people at the local Goodwill and they would know me. I mean, now that is not the case. I still go into thrifting, it just isn't as much. Rummage sales are different. When we were younger, years ago, when we first started selling on eBay, you would go to rummage sales and they were just local rummage sales. You would actually just drive around the city. Now there's an app for it. It's crazy. The other thing is, you definitely didn't see a sign next to an item saying, this item on eBay for $150. It just didn't happen. I mean, it was just different. During that time also, we just started going to auctions and that was a new thing. When we first started selling on eBay, we didn't really know much about auctions. We had a friend invite us to one and we went to one and we had a lot of fun, but that was new for us when we first started reselling. Now we go pretty often. But then we used to go, there was a company called Betthauser's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and they actually still hold auctions. They did switch locations, but it definitely isn't as large as it used to be. We went about a year ago, and still great, but not like it used to be. Auctions are still around. I'll say that's the same. But so sourcing is a little bit different than it used to be, including what you would buy sourcing. I used to buy the little vintage ladies' dress hats, you know, from the 50s. They'd put them on Sundays, especially going to church. Those sold so well years ago. I even sold a pile of them that were like all ripped up and wrecked. And I'm like, nobody's going to want these. But I'm like, we'll try it. We actually put it on auction for that. And they sold like hotcakes. They were a bunch of garbage. I don't know. But people were really into those vintage ladies' hats. And that's not the case anymore. Auctions on eBay. Those hats I sold on auction. Now I do very few auctions. When we first started, we almost did everything selling on auction. But I tell you, I put it on auction now I'm really careful about it. I don't get the price that I used to get when selling at auction. I have more of remember when stories or information for you, but it isn't just a remember when. We are going to get to the point where we're going to actually dissect this and think about how we've had to adjust, because we did adjust over the years, and it's something that you're going to have to think about for the future too. So I do have a little bit more of the remember when, but let's take a break here and pull an item real quick. So this is John Cale Vintage Violence. It's a vinyl record, and this sold for $21.38 free shipping. We also sold some sockets. These are heavy duty sockets. These are nothing to mess around with. Here, let's pull a couple out of the bag. This is a snap-on tool set. It is a full set, but these are some heavy duty. So these are deep socket, and they are, let's see, 10 to 24 millimeter half-inch drive deep impact sockets. These sold for $247. The customer did pay shipping. We're gonna get those out to him today because I'm sure he wants them. Let's get back to the remember when. When we first started, I had young kids at home. So let's see. I started in 2011. My daughter was 11, and my son must have been 14, going on 15 maybe. Yeah, I had a lot of responsibilities at home. I believe at that point I was working for somebody else, and so I had a full-time job. We also had another part-time job because, let me tell you, we weren't making the bills, and it was a little scary. So eBay really helped us out. My very first video that I did for YouTube was how eBay saved us. I really am grateful to eBay. It helped us through some rough times. So if you want to know some of my backstory, it's a good video. Basically, when we were selling, it was more as a hobby. It was a part-time job, a side hustle. It was not my main income. It did help us through a lot of rough times, but it wasn't my full-time gig. So now we got to look at it. Now it's my full-time gig. That changes things. That changes things big time. Also, my kids are grown. I do have a little bit more time to put into it. There isn't the baseball games and basketball games and coaching and Girl Scouts. So my personal life has changed. And you need to think about how your life is going to work with selling on eBay as well. In addition to that, my resources have gotten better. Guess what? I'm not broke like I used to be, thank God. And I do feel for anybody going through that, but work through it, you'll get through it. And eBay can help. It helped us. So if you are going through it, there's hope at the end of the tunnel. But, so our resources are stronger. We have different things financially. We have a trailer. We have storage. And we did have storage when we first started this. When we lived in Wisconsin, we had basements. I really miss basements. I really, really miss basements. Down here in South Carolina, they're not very common. So we had the storage in the basement. We had a garage. We had space. And so that wasn't really an issue. My knowledge has grown. 2011, it's now 2025. So we got what, 14 years of experience under our belt? We did learn a few things. The other thing is our connections have grown. The other day we had a question for somebody, and we were able to call another reseller to help us out. And she's an auctioneer, so Amanda, if you're watching, thank you. But we do have resources now of other people to call and ask questions or get support from. And that really helps. So that's another thing that has helped. And also, another big change is how many platforms do we have to sell on nowadays? So when we first started selling, it was pretty much eBay or Craigslist. There weren't that many options. I'm trying to think if Etsy was around. I want to say it wasn't, but I could be totally wrong. Maybe Etsy was around. I don't know. But anyways, it certainly wasn't the number today. I mean, now you still have eBay. Craigslist sort of went to the wayside, but it was replaced by Facebook Marketplace. You have Poshmark, you have Mercari, you have Whatnot. At that time, I mean, I don't even think people would have thought of Whatnot. I mean, the internet wasn't as strong back then. I don't think Whatnot would have even been possible at that point. What else? Didbit. So there's a lot of different avenues to sell on now, which we didn't have before. So these are different. There's some things that become more challenging, and there's other resources that you can take advantage of. My suggestion to you is that let's learn from these. Let's figure out how to use these resources. Let's look at what we've done in the past and what's working and what isn't working. Let's adapt. Let's be chameleons. Let's make sure we're doing stuff so we're working more efficiently instead of harder, so we're making more money, so we don't become extinct. We don't want to be dinosaurs of reselling. So let's pull another item and we'll get more into this. Now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of it. So this is actually the service manual that I was talking about in my video, Don't Throw in the Towel. This book was returned to us. We relisted it. It's sold again, $40 free shipping. So hopefully the customer likes it this time. Last time he just realized it wasn't the right book for his boat. So hopefully. So this is a reverse gear. It is for an Evinrude Johnson boat. This is an OEM part, so pretty good. $35, and the customer did pay shipping. So how have we adapted? First off, we personally sell more buy it now. We very, very rarely sell on auction. It's just when we list something on auction, we're finding that we're not getting the price that we could be getting if we do a buy it now. Now, part of this is, I mean, we used to do everything in auction. It was pretty rare to do a buy it now. And you'd be able to sell it and get it gone. And you get some funds in your pocket. You didn't have to store it. I didn't have all this bin system. I didn't even know about bin systems. We just basically listed it and we'd get it out the door and we'd make some good money. I'll tell you one thing though. Auctions used to be really fun. Like, you'd put something up for auction and you think you were going to get this amount and you end up getting this amount. And it also is like last minute bidding a lot of times. And I'm sure you get that a little bit now, but I don't see it like it used to be. There used to be snipers. There used to be, and at the end, it would go from like $50 to $250. And you'd be like, so I sort of miss auctions. They were a lot of fun to do. But we have found that we very rarely do auctions now. And when we do it, when we do sell an item on auction, because I do think there are times to do it, we make sure that we start it at a price that we're not going to be, that we're willing to ship it out the door. If you put it up for auction and it sells for $10, you really should ship it out for $10. So if you're not willing to take anything less than $50, you better start it at $50. You can do a reserve price on auctions. I don't know if it makes any sense. I know eBay used to charge for them. I'm pretty sure that they still charge you for reserve prices. I would just start it at the price you want to start it at. We don't do a lot of it anymore. We just found that you make so much more money on the buy it nows. And when we've done auctions, we just don't get that much traffic to it. So that has been a change. And so that's where we had to adapt. In order to be able to offer more buy it nows, one, we have to have the cash out longer. Like we used to buy something, we'd list it, you'd do I think we did like 3-day auctions. Now eBay is pushing for longer auctions too. But now we have to have those funds tied up longer because buy it nows don't always sell right away. So, I mean, there's a difference there. You do have to adapt. Now I have to figure out how to store all this inventory, how to make sure it's organized so that I can find it when it does sell. So I did have to adapt. I had to learn and figure it out. That's part of business. You learn and you figure it out and you move on. But I will say, by doing the buy it nows, we have been able to grow and grow and grow our store. Okay, this item I grabbed another item real quick here. And this is a fuel pump kit. It's Sierra Supply. It is an OEM part. And this sold for $14.40, but the customer did pay shipping. I think the biggest avenue that we have changed on with our business is our sourcing. Sometimes we will still go to thrift stores just to see what they have, and it's fun to look around, and sometimes it's fun to goof off. Honestly, I'd rather go thrifting sometimes when I don't know what to do, and so we'll go run to thrift stores, but it isn't our main source. We did used to do a lot of rummage sales. We still do rummage sales. Like I said earlier, nowadays you see those signs selling on eBay for this price. The thing that has changed with rummage sales, though, is now we have this tool. We have a computer walking around with us all the time. We didn't have that when I first went. There's the eBay app where you can scroll, find those sold comps. Now we even have AI. You can ask ChatGPT, hey, what do you think I should pay for this? We have a lot more resources now that we need to be using to be profitable and make sure we're not overpaying for items. Now, I am not saying that you should always look something up when you're sitting in front of somebody, but I'll tell you, it's getting more and more common. You sort of feel out the situation. I know it's uncomfortable for a lot of people to do that. You will get more comfortable pulling out your phone and looking up comps. I'm not saying you should always do it. Feel the situation out. Be respectful to people. But that is a resource. Or, sometimes I've gone out to my car and I had a feeling about something, but I didn't feel like dropping the trigger on it. And I went to my car, I looked it up, and guess what? I walked right back up there and I ended up buying that item. So this is a great resource and something that I'm glad we have today, The other thing is we have continued with going to auctions for sourcing. That has been really good for us. I love going to auctions, especially during the summer. When we first started doing this, we didn't really know about house auctions, the ones where an auction company will go to a house where somebody has passed away or has moved. Sometimes they've moved, and they're basically selling everything there. That was pretty cool to us when we started going to those. We did go to estate sales. That was common. But we didn't do bulk buys at the time. For one, we didn't have the funding to do them. The most I ever did in bulk buys was somebody was selling a box of books and I asked what they'd take for the whole box. Now we've done really large, thousands of dollar bulk buys where we wouldn't have been able to do that in the past. Now, I have to say, I don't know if that one was the best one I ever did. But it was, I mean, we made our money on it and we did okay on it. But now we have the resources that we're able to do bulk buys. And bulk buys can be something small. It might be that somebody has, like I said, a collection of books. That is considered a bulk buy, and it might be something you want to look into. Not a bad idea. The other thing is, now we do storage units. Now, one thing about storage units is you do need to be able to have a way to get all of that quantity of inventory, and you have to have a place to store that inventory and the time to go through it and clean it. And the other thing is, we're really lucky here in South Carolina. We have a dump site that we can take a lot of our garbage to. When I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the cost to dispose of the garbage that comes along with storage units was quite expensive. So we have adapted, and we have the resources now to be able to change up our sourcing and how we do it. The other thing with sourcing is our knowledge has grown. We can look at something and have a good feel on whether it's going to sell or not. We don't have to look up every single item, but it sure does. We still look up a lot of them. Don't get me wrong, but our knowledge has helped us, and our knowledge has helped us on what we should pay for things as well. And it has also given us the knowledge on how much to buy or what to buy. What to buy. Okay, babbling here. Let's break this down. Our knowledge has pretty much given us the know of what to buy. If we don't know how to figure it out, how much to pay, how to store it, how to get it listed, and how to get it moving out the door quickly. So knowledge is a big thing when you're sourcing, and you'll get it. It takes time to grow it. Keep watching different YouTube videos, mine or other resellers. Search eBay on what's sold, and also keep out and keep looking. I've got one more thing about sourcing, and then we'll grab another item that we need to ship today. But things that used to sell may not sell today. I used to sell those vintage wicker picnic baskets, like from the 70s area. Those things sold for hotcakes. I didn't care that it was a big box to ship in, because I made profit on those things, and these sold quick out the door. I even sold one. I can't even believe it sold. It was all busted on the bottom. And I actually asked the person why, or I don't know if I asked that person, but I was asking somebody, and they said people use it to put in the bathroom, and they just use it, like they'll put towels in it, and they don't see the bottom half, so they don't care if that's broken, or they'll use it in just basically any room in the house, but as decoration. Nowadays, look them up. They don't sell like they used to sell, and they definitely don't sell as quick. They do still sell. I mean, I've still sold them, but the amount of space and the box sizes and the cost of shipping really makes it a tougher sell. But it didn't matter days ago. Now I wouldn't touch it. So you really, just because it sold in the past does not mean that it'll sell today. And that's my point. You still have to look it up. Nowadays, we have a very easy resource to be able to use our phones, look it up and check it. So I do highly suggest doing that. So don't be a dinosaur and think everything that used to sell sells. Okay, the next piece is a bud vase. Now, you might be surprised, but this is Fiesta ware. It is actually labeled on the bottom. Unfortunately, I think that might be hard to see, but it's just a small bud vase. It doesn't have any chips or anything, but that one sold for $20, and the customer did pay shipping. This is another boat OEM part. It's a Quicksilver, and this is a boat carrier assembly part. It sold for $60 and the customer did pay shipping. Oh, I forgot to mention too, when you're sourcing, this is a really good tip for you guys. When you're sourcing, do antiques sell anymore? They definitely don't sell like they used to. And the furniture especially, people don't want that really big furniture anymore. And I got a tip one time, and it was a really good tip. People my age, or even my kids' age, my daughter just turned 25, my son is 28 years old. I know, I'm aging myself there. Anyways, things that they grew up with and things that we grew up with are the things that are going to sell. Because vintage items, we remember them. We remember playing with things as a kid. We get excited. We're like, oh, look at that. I remember that. This whole video is a remember that. So we're the ones that have the money now to purchase those items. And my kids are now getting to the age where they're going, oh, I remember that. And they now have jobs where they can afford to buy that stuff too. So if you think of it like that, it might help you on your sourcing. But getting back to our what has changed thing, my kids now are 25 and 28, like I said, so they're no longer young. They don't have me going to basketball games and baseball games, volunteering for them. I don't have those responsibilities anymore. So that frees me up for more time to be working on my business. But the other thing is I no longer have a full-time employer. I work for myself. And guess what? That responsibility is now on me. I need to make sure, even though I don't have an employer, that I'm putting in the time, because otherwise these sales don't happen. Now, if I want to take some time off though, I can. My sales just might not be as strong. So I have the flexibility, which, thank the Lord, I love my flexibility, that if I want to be a little bit lighter on the hours I work, I can do that. If you can't tell, I got a little bit of sunburn. I didn't work a lot this weekend. I took that time off. We were out at the lake. I got sunburnt. But because I'm self-employed, guess what? I got that flexibility. But I do need to adapt, because now the responsibility to make sure that I get work done, that I'm bringing in an income to pay the bills, that yes, I do have bills, that I make sure those get paid. So that responsibility is on me. I don't have somebody checking me to make sure I'm clocking in at 8 o'clock. I don't have anybody to be responsible for to make those sales quotas that I used to have to meet. It's on me. I got to take that responsibility on. And that is a good thing, and it's also a responsibility. Now, I enjoy it that way, and I appreciate that way. And let me tell you, I might be taking off a little more time during the summer, but I make up for it in the winter so that I can do that in the summer. Another thing that I had to adapt to, because of the fact that I am going from a part-time to full-time, is the quantity of inventory that I have, or the quantity of listings that I need to get done. And because of it, I need to have systems in place. One of the systems I have is that I need to list at least 10 items per day. If I don't list 10 items today, then it goes into tomorrow. And so pretty much I give myself a minimum requirement of 50 items to list per week. I usually list more than that, honestly, but during the summer, it's probably closer to that 50. And I'll have good days and I'll have bad days, but over the week's time, I really do try to at least make that minimum. And most of the time, like I said, it's usually over, but during the summer, I like to play. So probably during the summer, I'm closer to that 50. When talking about the changes from years ago when I first started compared to now, is we already talked about eBay and their comps, that we have the computer walking around with us all the time, that we have eBay comps. But we also have things like Terapeak now. And I remember when WorthPoint came out, that was huge. Like, if you were selling full time, you had WorthPoint. We were more part-time side hustlers, and WorthPoint was not cheap, so we didn't personally. I think we had like we might have done it for like a month or two, but we didn't do it long term. So those different resources that we have now, eBay, it's now included on eBay. You got Terapeak right on eBay's site. That resource area where you're looking for those comps that go further back, that's Terapeak. Use it. Use those resources. Another thing that has changed, and I touched on this a bit before, is knowledge. Our knowledge is power. We know better what sells. We source better. We have systems in place. We've grown contacts. If we need help, we know where to go to get answers. And now we have this YouTube channel. And now we're growing this community. I will say all those things, it's knowledge is power. Keep growing that knowledge. Keep going. And now we have this YouTube channel, which I think is great because guess what? I'm still learning, you guys. I learn every day and I want to learn from you, and I'm hoping that you'll learn from us. So make sure you like, subscribe so I can keep making these videos for you. It does help. This one's so small, I almost missed it in the drawer over there. It's an OMC Johnson Evinrude seal. And this sold, it only sold for $8.09, but the customer did pay shipping, so I'll take that. Have you guys ever heard of the Todd Rundgren show? It's a radio show from years ago. And this is a 1 hour taping of that show. You won't believe what this paid for. I mean, if you saw this at a rummage sale or somebody showed it to you, it's just like a plain white cover with a printed label. My husband's really good about this stuff. $135. It was free shipping, but $135. Not too bad. All right, we're almost done with this, the good old days versus today type video. Then another thing I will say is the platforms sure have changed. The platforms, all the different ones that are out there, I do suggest that you do try them. You know, each platform has its benefits and it has quirks to them, I guess I would say. A lot of times it depends on what you're selling, quantity you're selling, how you're sourcing, and also your personality. Somebody who sources really good if it gets items really cheap, but doesn't want to be seen on camera, Whatnot probably isn't for you. Even though if you're sourcing really good, you can get that stuff moving really quick. I mean, Whatnot might be a really good option for you. Now, in order to adapt and be that chameleon, though, you might need to think outside that box a little bit. What if you did Whatnot and got somebody else to stand in front of that camera for you that's more comfortable with it, and you do the back end stuff? Could that be a possibility for you? My whole point in this video is you need to find ways to change, because how you're sourcing, what you're sourcing, who your buyer is, what your lifestyle is, it's going to change over the years, and you need to figure it out if you want to stay in business. Otherwise, you're going to be a dinosaur of a business, and you might as well be, I don't know, Blockbuster, or how many other, I can't think of all these other companies that have gone out of business, but there's not too many people using Bell Telephone anymore. So if you want to stay in the game, adapt. And if you're going to adapt, you're going to be able to grow. And it's all part of business. Every business needs to do it. So I hope you have fun trying different things. I find it fun. I find it interesting. We actually recently did a video on Whatnot. I said, would I sell on it again? You might want to try to watch that. I like trying different ways. Now, personally, we sell in multiple ways. And it isn't Poshmark, it isn't Mercari. I've done Etsy, I've done flea markets. I obviously do eBay. I sell a lot on Facebook, but I'm always open to new platforms as well. It's fun to try these different things, and all you have to do is try it. It doesn't mean that you have to keep doing it, but see if you like it. Try AI. Do you like AI? I don't know. Can it help you in your business? I don't know. It might be something really good to try. Doesn't mean you have to stick with it. But in the meantime, hope you find ways to adapt to different events that are going on in the reselling world, and I hope you have fun selling. Happy selling.